This is the Best of the Week on Relevant Radio.
What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me no more. Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me no more.
Good song, Don't Hurt Me. In other words, if I always say yes to you, I will never forget the story. And I believe it was a true story of contemporaries, they would have been my age, a young hippie couple who didn't want to squash the creativity of their child. They had one little daughter, and they did not want to squash her creativity. And they decided that she would never hear the word no. They would never hear the word no. And one day there was a terrible storm, and the storm passed, and some power lines were down. And there the lines were in the yard, sparking like lovely fireworks, sparklers. And the little daughter ran toward the power lines, and her father, standing on the porch, shouted, "No!" She'd never heard the word before, so she grabbed the power lines and was killed. You know, you're hurting me. No, I'm not. I'm not hurting you. You're hurting you by persisting in immorality. By neglecting the faith, which is the truth. You're hurting you. I'm trying to help. You know, but the Bible says love is kind in 1 Corinthians. No, the word is Christos, which means useful. To be kind is not... Christos means to be of service. It was a name used for slaves sometimes. It meant handy. Sometimes it was mistaken, even the word Christ was mistaken for Christos. Suetonius seems to think that Christ was a slave. Christos. It means useful. And for me to just say yes or whatever you want, dear, that's not helpful. Once again, allow me to be rather tedious by defining love. The definition of love by St. Thomas Aquinas, I think, is profound and useful. To love is to will the good of another, not just to feel, oh, I'd like you to be happy. No, you do what you can do for the good of another. To will the good of another is love. Oh, Mom, Dad, I'm going to get married by a druid in a forest. But you're Catholic. We used to be married in church. Oh, I don't believe any of that stuff. I haven't believed it in years. Well, then we can't go to your wedding. Oh, I will never forget when I told a close relative who I loved dearly I couldn't go to her son's wedding. He'd been through Catholic schools, grade school, high school, and college. He had been confirmed and received his first communion, and he was marrying someone who didn't want the rigmarole of a Catholic wedding, wanted to be married in the backyard. And I couldn't go. They'd asked a relative who was a justice of the peace or something, or a Protestant minister, to do the wedding. And, but they wanted me to attend, maybe give a blessing or something. I said, I can't do that. And I will never forget, she stood on her front porch and howled at me. How dare you? How could you? How could you? It was like arrows in my heart. How could you? How could I not? For me to deny Christ and to deny what I believe to be right, just so I could get along and make them happy. Was that love? To love is to will the good. And for me, the great good was that this young man be married in a sacramental marriage, in a covenant marriage, in the faith that his parents, his godparents, his grandparents, his great-grandparents had practiced. The faith that brought us from Germany to this country. We came because of religious reasons primarily. I should deny all that so that it would be a nice event in the pictures. To love someone is to will their good. That's what it is. Now, let's look at these conditions. Today's case, a bridesmaid of someone who knowingly was rejecting their faith, to stand up in the wedding, is that to will their good? No, to say, I love you, and therefore, because I love you, I will not be part of this. You need your faith, even though you don't think you do. And for me to love you is to stand firm on this. And so just understand that to love someone is not to be nice. It's to do the best. To love someone is to be faithful to Christ. And sometimes we have to stand up for what we believe. People say, you don't love me. Oh, no, I love you very much. I love you so much, I'm willing to risk your anger. This is right. This is what is most important in my life and in your life, even if you don't recognize it. The loving thing is not always the nice thing. And we live in a world that is collapsing because we think love and nice are the same thing. And they're not. To love is to will the good of another. And how can I powerfully say to you that Christ is King, and he demands our loyalty and our obedience for our own good? How can I say that best to you? In general, when people are married outside of the church, it's because they are rejecting the faith in which they were raised. And you may not participate in that ceremony. I advise, for the sake of family unity, go to the party, but do not celebrate it as a wedding. Do not toast. Do not dance. Do not give a wedding gift. Give a gift, but not in wedding paper, not with wedding cards. A nice religious text, the books of Scott Hahn, perhaps, Rome, Sweet Home, and that sort of thing. You know, this is a very difficult thing, and we live in a world that doesn't know a darn thing about love. And we're called to be witnesses to love, not to nice, but to love. Being nice is good. Be as nice as you can be. But do not deny Christ. Do not deny the faith. That's not the loving thing to do. I can't go because I love you. Not, oh, if you love me, you do what I want. No, I love you, and I will not do this thing. I recommend to everyone, get the movie A Man for All Seasons, in which Thomas More gave his life in defense of marriage. Thomas More was a martyr in defense of marriage. He stood up at his trial and he said, the reason I am here is because I would not bend to the marriage of the king, which was an illegitimate marriage. So we live in a church of martyrs. And now we're just the church of nice. I don't think that it's where the church really is. There are strong people. It isn't simply the church of nice, but so many places have substituted nice for love. And love, as the Song of Songs says, is as relentless as death, as powerful as the underworld. This entire episode of Father Simon Says is on the Relevant Radio app. The Relevant Radio app is completely free and updated daily with fresh articles, podcasts, and prayers. Don't delay. Download the app today, and thanks for listening.